So thank you, Quentin. Thank you, Madam Mayor. And good morning, everyone, from me as well. And thanks very much for taking time out of your really busy schedules today, especially at this time of year. All of you in this room and everyone beyond this room have given a very considerable amount of their time and energy to this process so far. And I think what you'll hear this morning is testament to all of that effort. So I'm deeply grateful for that. And while we in the council team are obviously trying to facilitate all of that, I'm appreciative of the fact that everyone in this room has a day job as well and is giving up all of their time voluntarily. So the process is all the richer for that. So overall this morning, I'm going to run through a brief update on where we're at with the process so far and the very considerable progress that has been made. We will review what has been emerging from the thematic working groups so far. And we will hear directly from each of the three chairs. We'll hear from Ciara Ferguson, who chairs up the Community Development and Health Group. We'll hear from Gavin Killeen, who chairs the Economic Pillar, and we'll hear from Paul McNaught, who chairs the Physical and Environmental Pillar. We'll then look at the proposed next steps and the timelines, both in developing not just the strategic plan, but as the Mayor has said, also the local plans as well. And we'll set out, and we will indeed launch this morning, the local planning process, which is another strand to the suite of strategic plans that we hope to move forward in. So to date, we've undertaken what is the biggest and most comprehensive consultation and engagement event that has taken place across this city and region, involving, as the Mayor has said, thousands of citizens, businesses, organisations and groups. We've had 4 plenary sessions. This is the 5th, 4 task and finish working groups, 2 statutory partners workshops, 38 meetings in total of the thematic working groups. Can feel a Christmas song coming on at this point. A citizen survey of over 1,000 households right across the area, and a very extensive children and young people's engagement process. And we'll hear shortly from Georgina in relation to that, together with specific engagement right across the Section 75 groups across the council area. And what has all this been about? Well, it's been about a process which has been co-designed by all of you and all of our participants in this room and beyond to develop and put in place a long-term strategic plan for this region, a long-term plan which addresses the economic, the physical and the social regeneration and well-being of Derry and Strabane, specifically targeted to reduce inequalities and deprivation and to target need. And from the outset, we agreed to adopt a co-design approach and an outcomes-based approach. And during the summer months, the 8 thematic groups worked hard to develop these. The result, after much debate and iteration among the groups, were 28 outcomes across the 3 pillars. A work still in progress, but a work which is refining well, and a work which we will iterate and complete over the next number of months. And here's a snapshot of some of the draft outcomes that have emerged from the groups. This is the sort of place that we collectively have decided we wish to live in this region. In relation to community development, we want to be more actively engaged and involved in the life of our community, influence the decisions which affect our lives, to live in a more cohesive community with better access to quality services and facilities, and that our community groups and voluntary groups are more resilient and sustainable. You have all of these in your packs. I'm not going to go through each and every one of them, but just take you through a snapshot of some of the outcomes. Improve physical health, mental health, emotional well-being, more physically active, better supported to age well and live independently. Our children and young people will feel safer, healthier and more respected and included, and will have enhanced opportunities to fully realise their potential to become active, involved, responsible citizens. In relation to the second pillar, the economic pillar, we grow our economic base by being a more entrepreneurial and creative region, which is business ready and which has a compelling investment proposition. We are better connected economically, regionally and internationally, contribute to the economy on both sides of the border, and we achieve a competitive advantage and international recognition. Our young people will have improved levels of attainment from primary to post-primary level and a desire for lifelong learning. Increased access to more learning opportunities through expansion of our higher and further